Keeping it real.
Today we have Dre Baldwin from Work on Your Game. He has done so many prolific things that I can't really summarize it all as snappy and quick as I would like to. He's been a pro ball player. He turned into a businessman, started his own brand. And from there, I would rather leave a description of his journey from playing pro basketball, which is difficult enough to get into doing that, big accomplishment, to turning into a businessman, starting a brand. It's a large swath of information to summarize quickly. So I'm going to let Dre introduce himself and tell you where he came from to where he's at now.
Sure. Well, Jay, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for sharing your show and your audience with me. So
absolutely.
2-minute background, come from the city of Philadelphia, now based in Miami, Florida. Always played sports growing up, got around to basketball around age 14, which is pretty late if you're trying to play college or go to long pro ball. I only played 1 year high school ball, walked on to play Division III college ball. Played in college, didn't set the world on fire, but I played. Getting out of college, nobody was checking for me to play pro because most of the pros come from Division I, Division II. For those who don't follow sports, those are the guys you see on TV. So I was Division
I'm one
III.
of those, so thank you for explaining. Yeah,
exactly.
People just see I'm a personal trainer and think I know everything about sports. I don't. So thanks for context. I appreciate the context.
Right. So Division III, you don't see us on TV, and we don't usually populate the pros. So getting out of college, nobody was checking for me. I played my way into playing pro by going to an event called an exposure camp, which is basically like an open job fair for people who want to play professional sport, but they don't have a job. So I went to one of those, played pretty well, leveraged my performance there to get an agent who was like the go-between, the middleman to get jobs in the sports world, same way as they do in the literary world or the entertainment space. That agent helped me get my first job, so I started playing professional basketball overseas in Lithuania in 2005. That same year, I started putting footage on this brand new website called youtube.com. Now there is where I started to build my brand online. More people know me from YouTube than know me from actually being a professional athlete.
I don't want to butt in, but I got a quick question.
Yeah.
This is the inception of YouTube. You're talking the days when it started, right?
Yeah, that was the first year it came up.
You jumped right on it.
Yes.
Now, how did you have an epiphany to start creating content for this? Or was it just by chance?
I did not have an epiphany to start creating content.
This is a lucky break.
A little bit, because that exposure camp I just mentioned, Jay, the footage from that camp, because when you went to these camps, one of the things you wanted was the footage, because that footage is kind of like a resume that you can play ball against other pro level guys. And mind you, I played
so you could take you could submit it to other people. Right, okay.
Right. So that footage was on this thing called a VHS tape. You remember those?
Dude, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm that old. I've been around. I did plenty of VHS tapes. Those are old.
Right. Exactly. So the footage is on a VHS. So any Gen Zers listening to this, you can Google it or ask your parents. That's what it was. So I took that VHS tape and I took it to an audio-visual store. They put it on a data CD, and that footage is what I put on YouTube.
Digital. You went digital. Yeah, buddy.
Right. Yeah, I put it on YouTube.
The translation from analog to digital. There you go.
Exactly. I just needed a place to safe keep the footage. It wasn't because I was like, oh, I'm going to become an online influencer. Nobody was talking like that in 2005. That language didn't
exist. Yeah.
No, yeah. Nor did social media, nor did content. We weren't using those words at that time.
That's so cool. That's so cool that you may not consider it luck or insight, or you saw something that would come of it, but it certainly did, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So that's how it started.
Yeah, so it's amazing. So if you feed value out into the world, does it seem like there is some universal balancing truth that makes that come back to you? If you provide value to other people, by doing like the free stuff you were doing on YouTube, you were helping people.
Absolutely.
So that came back to you somehow.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that was the foundation of what we have now, what we're going to talk about here today. The foundation of it was when I started on YouTube, and that was only talking to basketball players about playing basketball. I wasn't talking about anything else.
Right. And that's one thing I would like to just put a pin in right here and make a big point about this is us talking about Dre's Work on Your Game brand. He was a pro basketball player. This does not absolutely just isolate him to professional athletes or people that want to be athletes. this is a mind construction way of doing things that Dre has learned over the years, and he wants to share with you, because the mind is what makes you capable of being a professional athlete or a professional CEO or whatever it is you want to accomplish. And that's what you figured out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the mindset piece is a big piece for athletes. The one difference, Jay, is that in the athletic world, there is a cutoff line of physical ability you have to even be eligible.
Oh, great point.
Right. So you had to be over that line. So I was above that line, but I wasn't so far above it that it was easy. That's why I had to go.
You made
to
it, but you had to work your ass off. So you're saying
exactly.
you just made it, but it didn't mean it was going to be easy for you.
Right. So everybody who's above that, that Mendoza line, they're eligible. And then even the people above that line, they don't all get a shot. So you still have to figure it out. So let's say LeBron James, if you're that good, you're going to get a chance whether you try or not. Now, I wasn't that good.
We get into those people that are getting drafted out of high school and stuff like that. That's when it gets insane.
Yeah, that's just a level of talent that you can't work. You can't work for that level of talent.
God just gave you that.
Exactly.
But one thing I have found out through my life is oftentimes you can outwork talent
if you have enough. Yes, I tell people that, and I'm glad you brought that up, because you have this saying, people say hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. All right.
Yes.
And that is true if you have enough talent to beat out the talent. Depends on how big the talent gap is. So let me give you an example. So I played Division III college basketball. Now, I had the pedigree physically to play professional sports. Most of my teammates did not. So it didn't matter how hard they worked. They could never beat me because I was just too much better than them. It wasn't that big of a gap, but it was big enough, right? So my 70% effort could beat their 100% because they just didn't have the talent. You get what I'm saying?
I get you. Yeah.
Right. And then over an extended period of time, the gap just continues to widen, and there was no amount of work they could put in that was going to overcome that gap. So it is true that you can outwork talent, but you had to have enough that you are close enough that you can close the gap. If the gap is so big, I couldn't outwork Shaquille O'Neal. You know what I'm
saying? Great point. Right. Yeah. Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, people like these they are extraordinary examples of talent, gift that you don't see every day. So yeah, it comes down to mathematics in the end, and you got to be able to break that down and be realistic with yourself about certain things too.
Right.
So many things are achievable. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say what you can do, what you can't do. So Kobebryant, he could work hard enough that he could surpass Shaq, but you couldn't work hard enough to surpass Shaq. You get what I'm saying? So even if you and Kobe did the same workouts, you're not going to pass Shaq, but Kobe could, right? So you still had to be close enough to make it interesting.
Right. Okay, let's move on from the basketball thing. Well, this question I have for you might not move you away from basketball. It might keep you there for just a moment, but let me ask it anyways. Who had the strongest influence on you throughout your journey here? I don't care if it's from when you were growing up to now. Is it a person, a book? I mean, it could be Michael Jordan. It could be, whatever, Dale Carnegie. I don't care. Who do you think maybe you could say really applied a big influence on the direction that you were heading?
I give you a bunch of people from different periods over the last.
Oh, you can't do one. You got a lot that you could pop.
Yeah. I'll give you a bunch for each period, and they'll each be relevant. So, from the very beginning, foundation, from when I was born up through, let's say, college, that had to be my parents. I had two parents at home growing up. They went to work every day. They were not entrepreneurs. I mean, they might did some small business stuff, but mostly not entrepreneurs, worked 9 to 5, regular working people. And they showed up and did their job every day. And people ask me where my discipline came from is because of what I saw demonstrated to me at home. My parents went to work every day. They didn't work jobs like what we are doing right here, Jay. They were not fun jobs, right? Times have changed. Jobs. That's right.
Times have changed.
Right. So now, you couldn't do something like this.
Yeah. But that was a great example. Right. I mean, I'll say that your upbringing, having that set forth in front of you, was a great example of how you should structure yourself to do your work, to be consistent. That was already a nice starting point for you to have that as an example.
Yes, the discipline part. Now, I don't know exactly how they set their jobs up because we didn't talk about that, but I just knew they got up and went to work every day. That's what I knew. And I knew they didn't. Well, they didn't look at their work the way that you and I look at our work, right? It was, you did the job because you had to do a job because you had to take care of your family, not because you loved the work. So that's where the discipline came from. So that's influence number one. Influence number two, I would have to say Robert Kiyosaki. He's the author of a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I got introduced to that book when I was probably in the middle of my college years. I have a 4-year business degree. But
look at you.
Yeah, so
you got so many damn things under your belt, brother. I'm so proud of you.
Well, I'm about to discredit that degree. So here's the thing. When I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, I said, why aren't any of my teachers teaching what this guy's talking about? So that's what put me on. That's what put me on the line to entrepreneurship, because they were not teaching that in college.
Okay.
They were basically getting you ready to go work for someone else. That's what school was set up for in America. The educational system is set up to make employees. Whereas Rich Dad, Poor Dad was talking about being an entrepreneur. And I said, all right, whatever this guy's talking about, I'm going to do that when I get done with basketball. Because I knew basketball was the next step after college, but then I was going to do that next. So he's influence number two. Influence number three would be Tim Ferriss. He wrote The 4-Hour Work Week. Most people are familiar with him.
Love Tim Ferriss.
I read that book probably about 10 years later, maybe 2007, 2008. And Tim Ferriss was basically taking a lot of the same framework of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but applying it to the digital space. Here's how you can do it on the internet. Here's how you can hire a person in India who you never met and they can work for you for $5 an hour. He's the first person I ever heard say that.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He made so many important statements in a lot of his first books that he put out that I think changed the trajectory of the way people look at work now. And obviously you were one of them. So,
right. So
that's another one of your influences. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Did you have more?
Yes, I'll give you one more.
Go, keep on going, brother.
So one more is a person I've been diving into a lot of their stuff now. He's actually older than I think both Kiyosaki and Tim Ferriss. His name is Dan Kennedy. And I don't know if many people know about Dan Kennedy, but he's a marketing guy from back in the day. He's been around since the 70s, marketing. He's not a big internet guy.
I can't believe I don't know him.
Yeah, most people don't know him by name, but you know his work, because any marketer you can name out there these days, Tim Ferriss calls Dan Kennedy a big influence. You're familiar with ClickFunnels, Russell Brunson. Dan Kennedy is one of his mentors. So a lot of the sales people you know who are out there these days, they got their stuff from Dan Kennedy. So Tony Robbins, for example, who blew up. Tony Robbins first blew up, a lot of people don't know this, because he was on an infomercial selling his personal development motivational stuff. Dan Kennedy was working in the background of those infomercials that helped make Tony famous. So Dan Kennedy's that guy. He's basically the foundation of every marketer, salesperson on the internet you heard of today. He's that guy. He's in his 70s now, basically retired.
Oh, wow. That is interesting information.
Yeah, so a lot of his material, though, he has it set up in a way that you can still consume it. So courses, books, newsletters, all his stuff. Russell Brunson actually bought Dan Kennedy's company. So they own it now. So a lot of his material you can get through those guys. Good move. He's a big influence on me now. So I'm going through a lot of his stuff from like 20, 30, 40 years ago.
I'm going to have to go through it now.
Yes, a big influence on me right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, so those are the people I would give credit to.
Okay, cool. Yes. Okay, one thing I'd like to say with you talking about these different influences that they've had on you, there's a new kind of influencer out nowadays to kind of motivate or push people in the mind space, self-help type category. And back in the old days, we had like Napoleon Hill, you know, like Think and Grow Rich. Now we got people like hard-ass motherfuckers like David Goggins. Do you know who he is?
Yes, of course. I get mistaken for him every once in a while.
Dude, I can see that.
Yeah,
I can see that. Yeah, you got the Goggins kind of look.
Black guy, so the bald head, yes.
Well, you kind of got the same facial features and everything. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I look better than him, but yeah, shout out to David Goggins.
You're more handsome. You're more handsome.
Yeah, I think
David, don't kill me.
Yeah.
But it's look at the radical difference between Napoleon Hill to David Goggins.
Yeah.
F is like the F word is in every sentence he says, maybe once or twice. And hardcore mentality. He does believe that every human has way more in their tank and way more they can accomplish. And I love the way he presents it. It's just a little harsh for most people to hear. What do you think of the way that things have changed in the influencer space from that time period? Because I know you're so smart. You read books. You like reading and writing. You're very big in that department. So I'm not going to say anything that you don't know. You're going to enlighten me here. So that's going way back to go to Napoleon Hill up to David Goggins. That's a huge difference. What do you think?
Well, the first thing is there are still people who are in the Napoleon Hill lane out today. The difference today is that there's such a wide space and it's so easy to get in that you have more options. So back then, if there was a David Goggins type, it was harder to get in because you had to go through gatekeepers to get your material out there. These days, everybody can put their material out. So now you can know about him, you can know about me, you can know about you, and you can know about even all the old people because it's so accessible for everybody. So yes, it has changed in that you have a bunch of people who have a different approach, but you also have people who have the same approach. It's just that we have so many. Back then it was 1 or 2. Now you got 1 or 2,000 people putting material out there. That's
the information age has oversaturated us to the point to where I think people are crippled with information.
Correct.
They have too much. It's information overload, so I'm not going to do shit.
Yeah.
Almost. So that's why I was very happy to have you on the show, because if I can introduce people to you, it's just plain and simple makes sense what you talk about. So that's what I wanted you to share. So let's move on to the next one here I have for you. If you had to isolate the one most important lesson you learned over the years, even from being from the beginning overseas playing basketball up to now, I don't care what it is, maybe when you were a child, any lesson, what was the most important lesson you ever learned?
Sell yourself. You got to be able to sell yourself. Yes.
Is everything selling?
Yes. Sales is about influence, persuasion, and getting what you want. That's what sales is.
And that's life.
That's right. Influencing other people, influencing yourself, persuading others than yourself, and getting
even yourself
you want in your life. That's right. You got to sell yourself on yourself. That's the first most important sale you make.
You know, a lot of people probably have a horrible belief about themselves. They need to sell themselves a new identity.
That's right.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, that's pretty profound to say that I mean, everything is sales. Everything in life really is sales when you boil it down to it. I mean, you can't look at it any other way because it's a form of manipulating somebody to make a decision one way or another. You're either wanting to manipulate yourself to make a better decision, or you're a salesman. Yeah, you can do good or bad with it, right?
And that's right. So that's all sales is manipulation. Kennedy says that all the time. So
we found everybody in life has probably ran into that one person who uses the ability to do their sales techniques on people in a bad way. I've experienced it, but I know there is plenty of good people out there doing it too, like you.
Yeah.
If you had to isolate the one most important lesson you learned over the years, what would it be?
Stop selling yourself.
I asked you the same damn question. Yeah. Well, I just looked like completely mentally deficient right there. Sorry.
No, that's a good question.
My workspace is overcluttered. Let's just blame it on that. Do you believe everyone has the ability to be more than just mediocre in life?
Absolutely.
I think there's this thing like now everybody just accepts, this is who I am, Joe the mechanic. This is who I am, Betty the housekeeper. I think everybody is more than what they really have sold themselves on. Whatever this belief is, whatever this story is they've told themselves. And I want somebody that has studied this field and dealt with so many people to tell me what he thinks kind of in depth on this.
So the answer to the question is yes, everybody has the ability to be more than, average or mediocre. Just most people end up average or mediocre because that's good enough to be good enough. It's good enough to...
It's easy.
Yeah. It's good enough to have your basic needs, taken care of. You don't have to stretch yourself or go outside of your comfort zone. You can be average, you can be mediocre. So to be anything above average or mediocre requires stepping outside of your comfort zone and doing things that are outside of the basic necessity activities and the basic necessity ways of thinking. This is why I even tell people this, that in order to be above average, you have to go against the grain of your natural human inclinations, which is human beings are naturally lazy. We're designed to conserve energy mentally, physically, and emotionally. So because back in the days, it's part of our wiring, we needed to save our energy just in case the saber-tooth tiger came into the cave.
Yeah.
Right? So that we still have that wiring in us. So we don't want to do things. So a person who is super active, always moving, taking actions and doing things, that's not normal. And you have to push yourself to be that type of person. If you do it often enough, it becomes a habit, because human beings are highly adaptable. So you put any human being in any situation often enough, they'll get used to it and they'll just start doing it naturally. But you have to move yourself to do that. It's not something that will just automatically come to you.
I totally agree with that. I mean, I wanted to butt in and so many times when you were speaking right there, because I agree with you every step of the way what you said. I'm a personal trainer. I don't even know if I shared that with you, but I have so many people that come to me and they ask me, is there a supplement or a drug I can take? Or, they want some kind of, it's magic. They want the magic quick fix to the situation. So I'm just guessing that in your situation, you're going to experience the same thing with coaching clients. Somebody's going to come to you and they're going to go, got this problem, need the quick fix for it. What do I do, Dre? What do you think about these kind of people? Like, how do you answer them?
Well, in my coaching, I answer it two ways. First of all, in my coaching business, I actively market to reject those people and keep them away from me. So I don't get too many of them coming. Not these days. Yeah, not these days. No. But I do get people coming to me that way, just in my audience, period. Just being on social media and sending out emails, so doesn't cost them any money. So I do get people who come to me looking for the simple thing, but if you consume enough of my material, you know that that's not the right question, and I emphasize that a lot. So in basketball, we get that question often, and I would let players know, like, listen, if you're serious about this, number one, you have to be willing to put in the work. I mean, that's why it's called work on your game. You get the point. Even for me just saying that, you got to be willing to put in the work and put in the effort. I would get players who say to me, Dre, I want to get good at basketball, but I don't really like practicing a lot. Can you give me some motivation? I would say, no, I can't give you motivation. And while technically I could give them motivation, I wasn't going to, because
it's momentary.
Right.
That motivation will be momentary. It won't last.
Right. So I would tell them, Jay, like, if I'm going to motivate you today, who's going to motivate you the day after today? And the day after that, I mean, you don't have the motivation again. So I'm not always going to be around to give it to you. So if you don't have it, I would even tell them, well, you don't have to play basketball. It's voluntary. It's not like you have to play basketball. Now, you maybe have to go to school, get a job. You don't have to play basketball. So if you're not motivated to do the work, find something else to do.
Damn, you're kind of cutthroat. You just straight up with people, huh? I'm not so good at doing that sometimes, but I mean, I guess, hey, sometimes that's the best way to handle stuff, is just leave people with their jaw dropped and let them understand that that's not the way the world works. Anything worth having in life is worth working hard for, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
You sound like the guy that would believe in that saying there.
No, absolutely. Yes.
What's the biggest fear that has come across you in your journey throughout life that you had to defeat?
Probably the biggest fear was probably back in the sports days, just wanting to get that chance to get to the next level. Not
feeling good enough, what is it?
No, it wasn't good enough. It was, will I be able to get to the highest level in sport? Can I get to playing?
Can I be a pro?
Can I play the pro level? Right. Because I only played Division III, so that's like nothing to the average person. Who cares?
So
right?
To
getting
quell
out of there,
that
can I
fear,
get my chance?
Yeah, to quell that fear, you literally worked your ass to death to make sure you put that fear in its place, to know that you had the confidence to be your best by just practice, right?
Well, practice
was a guess.
Yeah, practice was a big part of it, Jay, but also it was the ability to sell myself. Because remember what I told you. There's a line you have to be above to be eligible, but there may be 1,000 guys over the line, but only 100 of them are going to get a job. So just because you have work does not mean you're going to get the opportunity. So work is not the whole. It's not the whole meal. I tell people this all the time. Even though I'm the work on your game guy, people have to need to understand that hard work is an element of success. It is not the entirety of success. So hard work is an element of success, the same way that, French fries are a part of a meal. But if all you had was French fries, you might still be hungry. All right, you need a little bit more. You need a burger. You might need a salad. You need a drink.
Give me the burger.
Right, exactly. So hard work is not the whole thing. It's a piece of it. And sometimes people get so into the hard work part that they forget about what are you working hard on? So what I spent a lot of my time working hard on between graduating college and when I got my chance to play pro ball was, how do I market and sell myself? Because if nobody knows that I exist, it doesn't matter how good I am. So that was the part that mattered the most to me.
So that fear made you learn how to become a marketer, a salesperson.
Absolutely.
Wow. That's a great drive to let it, to go straight towards your fear, to march into it is not something most people do. And in fact, I think, tell me if you agree with this, many dreams that somebody might have nowadays, going to the self-help section in the bookstore or Amazon, or going to all these different seminars, Tony Robbins, whoever, over and over again, they're addicted to it. They're not facing something. There's a fear, in my opinion, with most people that's holding them back from actually achieving whatever goal or dream it is that they have. Do you think that's true?
A fear that's holding people back?
Yeah, just to summarize it.
Yeah, I think that is true. I mean, I'm thinking about that a little bit more as I'm just talking through it, that yes, sometimes people tend to stick to the same habits and doing the same things because it's comfortable for them. And to get out of their comfort zone, the fear is actually getting out of the comfort zone, which means either A, dropping something that you're doing all the time that now you will no longer do. It feels uncomfortable because you're so used to doing it, even if it's not serving you. Just not doing it anymore just feels so weird because you're used to doing it. Or B, and it could be a combination of both, doing something that you don't normally do, and it feels uncomfortable because you haven't done it before. And human beings, the older we get, the more calcified those habits become. We get so used to doing the same stuff.
Amen, brother.
That then it becomes to feel like fear, even though it's just discomfort. We're not really, there's nothing really to be afraid of. It's so uncomfortable that we label it as fear, to stop doing our old habits that we've had for 20 years, or to pick up a new habit that for the last 40 years we never had. And now all of a sudden we're going to start doing this thing. So we just start crafting these stories in our minds about why we can't do it, or why we shouldn't do it, or why it doesn't make sense. And then it manifests as fear, but it's not really fear because nothing's actually going to happen. It's just that it manifests as fear.
Oh, dude, that hit hard for me because of the use of words. The dialectic use of words in the correct manner makes such a difference, man, because it's just the way you broke it down right there. Instead of being conquered by that fear, just going out and going after it. And I can't remember, you said one word there that just, I didn't want to butt into what you were saying. I hate that. I don't want to butt into somebody when they're in the middle of giving a great bit of dialect, but there was something you said that was very specific, and it's gone from my brain now, but that was a gold nugget you dropped right there. That
when
was,
you listen to it back, you'll hear it. You'll catch it.
I'll hear it again. So luckily I get it, and I'll cut out all this folly of me trying to figure out what the hell it is. What is your single most valuable asset? And I'm talking, could it be a skill? Could it be a person? Your mind, your faith, anything. What is the one, if you only get to pick one, most valuable asset?
Insight. And the way I define insight is the ability to replace one question with a better question. And it goes to a couple of things we've already talked about here. So like we just talked about with the fear, that again, we just take discomfort and we manifest it as fears. And when you help people understand that, that's the insight, helping people understand why.
That's what it is. You fixed it. I got to butt in, and I completely apologize. That is the gold nugget you dropped a while ago. It's discomfort. Replace fear with discomfort.
Right.
That is what people are experiencing.
And then you can deal with it. Right.
Okay.
When you call it discomfort, you can handle it.
Amen. That's what you said. Thank you for repeating that. Right. That was the gold nugget. So thank you.
So the insight, what I mean by insight is looking at a situation that somebody else might see as complex and breaking it down and making it simple. Now that's literally what I do best. That's my best skill. So when I was putting basketball videos on YouTube, that's all I was doing. I would take the Kobe Bryant move and I would break it down so that the average player could understand how to do it, because they watched Kobe do it, they couldn't do it. They're like, man, I go so hard, I could never do that. Then I would break it down. They say, oh, now I get it. All right. And it's the same thing I do with mindset. It's the same thing I do with entrepreneurs. It's the same thing I do in business. So I take something that could seem complex relatively to one person, and I make it simple enough that you can get it, put a label on it, like we just did with discomfort versus fear, and now you can understand it, and now you are capable of doing something about it. So that's the number one thing I have. And insight is also, Jay, about replacing one question with a better question. So like you just said, when I wanted to get on playing basketball, did you just work your ass off to become good? Yes, but there were a million players working their asses off. Like, what's the difference between me and them?
Right.
To the outside observer, the difference is nothing. I might have thought I was better than them, but could I prove it? The answer was no. How do I prove it? Okay, I got to sell myself. That's what's going to separate me from these other players, because all of them think that they're just the best player in the world. Well, me too. So if we all saying the same thing.
Nobody else is thinking this, though.
Right. So I had to ask a different question. The different question was, how can I sell myself? Because I know all these other guys are not going to do the sales work. Let me do the sales work, and I'll jump ahead of them without even having to prove that I'm better than them. So that's the insight.
But at the same time, you were also working your ass off and better in your game.
At the same time, I had the game. Right. Again, remember that baseline.
So you're coming at it from every angle,
right?
Instead of just one, like most people are doing. Very, very smart. Okay, one thing I think most people don't go very deep into when they talk about helping out your mind and pursuit of a goal or a dream or whatever it may be, it's failure is a huge part of being successful.
That's right.
Players don't hit every shot. Baseball players are not going to hit every pitch, or every businessman is not going to succeed in everything that he does. There's going to be bumps along the road.
Right.
So can you give us some insight on what you think about failure and how it can actually be a positive thing?
Yeah. So the first thing is framing it. Now, how are we framing things? And language matters a ton. I'm very big on language.
I see that.
Yeah. So when we talk about failure, I want to be clear when somebody says that to me. So I'll ask you, since you asked it, what do you mean when you say failure?
Well, it means you did not accomplish whatever it is you said you would accomplish in your head or out loud or whatever. Or maybe it's just a circumstance at the moment that you feel like a failure because something bad happened. I don't know.
Right.
There's so many different ways it could take on a story in a person's mind.
That's right. That's why I asked, because other people will say with failure, well, you don't fail until you quit. Right. So
that's what I tell people. You don't. At the gym, I tell them you're not failing until you don't show back up here and do this again.
Exactly.
Right.
So I was in the gym this morning. I was in a boxing gym. And I'm not a boxer, but I'm learning. Now I go, my boxing trainer, he's showing me how to do certain techniques, and it's hard to do. This guy's he's been a real life boxer.
Oh, hell yeah. I love boxing.
Yeah, exactly. So when he's trying to show me how to do the stuff, if you were watching the workout, you could say, technically, I'm failing at learning how to slip this right hand, right? And how to block the punches and all those things.
You have to.
But I don't consider it failure.
Learn.
I just consider it part of the process. Yeah, I just consider it a learning process. So I don't look at it like, let's say there's a bunch of people watching us and watching me mess up. I'm not embarrassed because I'm not trying to prove anything here, first of all. And secondly, I know that I'm here to learn. So I'm not expecting that I'm going to perform at any other level because I know I don't know this stuff. So I don't look at it as a failure. So even playing ball, I reached out to more teams than I played for, right? And I reached out to more agents than agents signed me, all right? And even in sales these days, I have more
everybody knew your name
than we have closed sales. Right. So I don't consider them failures. I just say, okay, that one didn't close. This is getting me closer to the next one. So it's a matter of how you decide to frame things, and different people frame things different ways because different words trigger different thoughts in different people's brains. So it's just the way that you got to find what works for you. So when we talk about failures, let's just say things not working, setbacks, failures, put them all in one category. Right. Is that the job? Absolutely it is. Because if you're not willing to, I'll give you an example. So growing up in Philadelphia, I was born in 1982, so I came of age before we had smartphones. So if you wanted to go out and talk to girls, you had to actually talk to girls. You couldn't send DMs. Right?
It wasn't so easy.
Right. You had to actually speak to them in person, live in the flesh. And I had more girls turn me down than give me their phone number. Right. But because I had the experience of being willing to walk up to them and get told no, it doesn't bother me to have a sales conversation today as a salesperson because I'm willing to ask for the sale. If you're not willing to ask for the sale, you can't make any sales.
So yeah, you literally got used to walking up to girls and getting stomped over and over again. I'm sure you succeeded plenty of times though, Dre. You're a handsome man. But you did get stopped. Hey, we all do, asking girls out on dates when we're young and we're chasing after them women. It happens, but lots of guys are so damn shy they don't even do that. That's a great training ground you could use to build strength in yourself, actually, by those failures. That's wonderful. And it's not over when you're young either. There's other things you can find to develop this, to expose yourself to maybe people saying no to you in a way that would empower you, so to speak. And it doesn't feel good when it happens, but you learn how to deal with it. Then you will go into that mode more often and face it until you get your yes.
And even with that, I don't even feel bad. If I have a sales conversation these days and somebody doesn't buy from me, I don't feel bad. I know why they said no. It's either they already had another person or they just don't have the money. But I know if I go through my process and I'm talking to the right person, it's going to be yes. I know it's closing. So I wouldn't even feel bad in that situation. And if you have a process, let's say you're in sales, you have a process for how you talk to every prospect you deal with. Some people are going to say no. It's not because you did anything wrong. So there's no reason to feel bad. It's just that we know 1 out of every 10 is going to say yes. Okay, so the last 3 said no. Okay, so it's only 7 more before I make another close. So I wouldn't even feel bad then, as long as you have a process and a system for what you're doing.
Right on. Now, one thing I just got this isn't anything I had written down or scripted that I wanted to ask you, but you have wrote, is it 33 books?
Yeah, 33, 34, who's counting?
Now, how the hell are you a professional basketball player and able to write 33 books and put out all this material? Where did you get all these gifts?
Well, I appreciate the compliment and the question. As far as the content, that just started with, again, it came from the insight, just my ability to break things down, and I knew I could explain them. So I have this ability, when someone tells me that they have a problem, I know exactly what question they should be asking that they don't even know they need to be asking. And I make content answering the question that they don't even know they should be asking. So that's how I create so much content.
I'm going to call you Guru Dre. You know the question before I ask it.
Yes, that's the reason why I do what I do. So I understand what people really need to ask. And then when people do ask a direct question and I haven't answered it already, I'll go make content answering that question. And then when it comes to the paid material, books, courses, etc., all I do is look at the questions that get asked so much, and I know the answers are so valuable, then I go make stuff that you pay for to get access to it. So I just take the content, it funnels up into the paid material, and the paid material, we funnel that up into, hey, if you want me to help you directly with this and you personally in your specific situation, then you come into our masterminds and our coaching program. So it all just funnels up.
This is the thing that is absolutely sensational to me, is looking at you, because I did a deep dive because I knew I was going to get to have this interview with you. So I wanted to look into your lifestyle and where you started in Philadelphia and, 14, getting into the basketball and all that stuff. And I've watched how this man grew into all these different facets of life, doing all these different things. And your story really is inspirational, that you were able to overcome lots of things that many would consider setbacks and just, they'd go the average route, they'd go the mediocre route, but you outworked everything and you tapped into some of your talents. Like you always wrote, right? Like that was one of your things.
Yes.
But you went deep on it. You said, I'm good at it, so I'm going into that.
Yes.
Many people don't realize they have a gift like you have, like with the writing.
Right. That's true. And at the same time, you want to talk about luck. You mentioned earlier, I graduated college in 2004. All right. And blogging was starting to become a thing at the time. So I started blogging in 2005. YouTube came in 2005. All right. Facebook came out maybe a little bit after that. And then as I'm coming of age, this is my early 20s, I'm playing ball overseas. A long day at work when you play professional sports is about 4 hours. So we got a lot of time on our hands. All right, now social media comes out. All right, I'll jump on that. All right, so these things, there was timing involved, but I also had to take advantage of the timing. So it's a combination of both.
Right. You came like multiple angles of attack.
Right.
You had a broad view. You were not, like some people would say, that's the shotgun approach. You're hitting at everything. Where some people will say you need the laser approach.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a disagreement with that, do you think? Or is it good to use kind of the approach that you did where you went multifaceted different directions, or it depends on the type of person?
I think it depends on both the type of person and the type of work. It depends on what you're doing, because
two things.
Here's what I tell people, and that's a great question that you asked, Jay, because I tell people this all the time. Like, had my basketball career been different, let's say I get out of college and I get drafted by where you live, where you located?
I'm in Dallas, Texas.
Okay, so let's say I get drafted by the Dallas Mavericks.
All right.
Play tonight, right? And they play tonight, or is it tomorrow?
I don't even know, man. I gave up back in the Michael Jordan era. I just stopped watching.
Yeah, so let's say I get drafted by the Dallas Mavericks. They sign me to a 10-year contract for $100 million. So all I got to do is focus on playing basketball. Who knows? Maybe I never would have got on YouTube because I wouldn't have had that VHS tape from the exposure camp, right? Because I never would have had to go.
Truth.
Right?
Yeah.
I might not have been paying so much attention to blogging because who cares if I'm blogging? Everybody already knows me because I play for the Dallas Mavericks, right? Maybe I never would have created my own products and been reading Tim Ferriss because why do I need to care about a 4-hour work week? I already got one. I play basketball for a living, right? So I never would have had to I never would have done all these things. I didn't have to do them, but I never would have been exploring these other options because the first thing that I was doing was working so well that it didn't matter. But in playing ball, we didn't really talk about this. But there were times in my basketball career where I was a free agent and the phone was not ringing, meaning there was no offer coming in. I didn't know if another one was coming. And that's when I really started to focus more on building what became my brand because I wasn't sure I would get another chance to keep playing. Now, luckily, the phone did keep ringing, so I was able to extend it to an almost 10-year career. But there were times where I wasn't sure. And that's why I had this other thing going at the same time. So had my career gone more smoothly on the court, then we might not even be here having this conversation right now, at least not from this context, from this angle, because these other
changed
things might have been
everything.
in place. Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
you're right. I mean, if you had a big contract, you were a professional ball player, then the need to go dump extra energy, time, effort into these other skills you developed and turned into the company that is what it is today. I mean, work on your game. It's all because you had that time to do it. You had that want to do it. You had that need to do it. You knew that, hey, my life's going to go on after basketball. I need something else. But you get millions of dollars a year slapped in your lap. That kind of makes you take things a little more easy.
Absolutely. And you stay focused on that. You want to stay focused on that one thing because that's working so well. Right. So if you don't know what one thing is going to work or if it's going to keep working, then you're looking. You're like, okay, what? Just in case this doesn't, what else am I going to
do? Truth. Okay, let's think of maybe one little tip, or maybe it's a big tip that you could give anybody that's out there right now that's struggling, that needs to have a breakthrough in their life. What could you say to them to get them? I know you don't like to be motivation for people, but what's something you could say that could help them? One little tip.
Struggling with.
Huh?
What are they struggling with? What's the struggle?
Well, that would be difficult to say because so many people are struggling with so many things. Is there a generic tip that works for many people that you know of? Or do you have I know you're big on structure, bro. I know that's one of your things is, hey, we need information to plug into these different things to figure it out.
That's something for you. Yeah, I got it. So the thing is this, and the structure is a perfect word that you just used there. So anyone who's trying to achieve a certain result or you're not getting a result, all we have to do is go backwards and work backwards from where results come from. Results or rewards, rather, is what we're looking for because you don't want to just produce results. You want to get the reward for the result, right?
Right.
You want to do something good and then get some type of payback for doing it. So whether that's money, happiness, fame, likes, followers, whatever. So you want to get rewards, you have to produce results. Now, if you can produce results consistently and you can basically call your shot and do it every time, then people will give you whatever reward you want. Right. So if you can cure cancer, people give you as much money as you want. Right. So whatever the reward is you want, you just got to produce a result for the people who have the reward. All right. You want to make money, all you got to do is produce some type of result for the people who have the money. Now, to produce results, you have to perform because we are in a performance and results-based business called life. That's what life is. You got to perform, you got to produce results.
Yes.
Performance is the result of discipline. When you are disciplined in your effort, disciplined in your work, disciplined in putting yourself out there, you're going to get your opportunities to perform. Then you just got to go out there and do what you do. And you should already be prepared to do it because you have the discipline of doing the work. And discipline actually produces confidence. So confidence leads to the performance. And you want to be confident when you go out and perform. You're confident when you get on the mic, confident when you get on the stage, confident when you go to the gym, confident when you go talk to the girls at school, whatever it is that you're doing. So discipline produces confidence, performance, performance to results, results to rewards. Now, where does discipline come from? Discipline is a result of structure. When you have a structure in place and you follow the structure, then discipline is a natural byproduct of structure. So people had parents at home growing up. Your parents provided the structure. They told you what time to wake up, what time to go to bed, what time was curfew, when to eat dinner, when to take out the trash. There was structure there. And because of that structure, you were disciplined. Discipline, again, confidence, performance, results, and rewards. Now, the challenge for many people is that they have no structure. What do you do when you have no structure? Plug into a structure. So you don't have to figure everything out on your own. So all those pieces that I just laid out, no one listening to this has to do this by themselves. All you have to do is plug into something or someone who has already figured out how to produce the rewards that you want. And all you have to do is follow what they say. That's all you have to do. It's literally all you have to do. In the world that we live in today, we are so interconnected. There used to be, remember that movie, 6 Degrees of Separation?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not 6 degrees anymore. Now it's like 2 or 3 degrees of separation. Because
the internet getting to be less and less. Yeah.
Right, exactly. You're only 2 or 3 connections away from talking directly to any person who you want to meet. All right, everybody is findable these days, especially if they're actively on the internet. So you can get access to anyone's structure who is already doing what you want to do. All you have to do is plug into it, consume it, read, listen, watch, and then actually do the work. And that's all you have to do to get to any outcome that you want. The challenge for many people these days is that they're too lazy to look and or too lazy to implement. And as long as you can solve that problem, the world is your oyster.
And that goes without saying, all facets of life, any pursuit. What you just said is completely applicable. The big thing is that strategy and the action that comes after that. Because one of the big things I find with lots of people is they can talk a strategy and come up with one. You can help people with strategies, but then the action is where most people lack. They're not consistent with the action, or they just don't do it.
That's right.
Yep. So I would say that's a big part that I'm sure you found ways to get people to commit to the action that they can probably learn. People can probably learn this by reading your books, right?
Yes, and
it's covered.
And the other thing, working from the other angle, Jay, is finding people who are already committed to the action. That's the shortcut.
Oh, okay.
Don't try to make them into something. Find people who are already that and work with those people. That's the easy button.
So this is like symbiosis by proximity. Like you absorb what's around you. It somewhat comes. It will pull you into it, so to speak.
Somewhat. But you got to be looking, right? So you got to be looking to even get around it. What I'm saying is, like, if I was looking for, let's say I wanted to have a whole bunch of successful coaching clients, I'm not going to find a bunch of people who are not doing anything and try to turn them into something. That's too much work. I want to find the people who are going to be successful anyway, and I'm going to help facilitate that success. All right, so I'm looking for people who are already winning. I'm just going to help them win more. It's like Phil Jackson didn't make Michael Jordan great. Michael Jordan would have been great with or without Phil Jackson. Right. Same with Kobebryant and any other great performer you name. Their coach did not make them great. Now, the coach got to get some credit, but they're not the reason that player was great. That player would have been great with or without you. Right. I'm looking for Michael Jordans and Kobe Bryants.
Yeah, because they might not be their best self just yet.
Right, but they are pretty damn good. Right. So I want to find people who are already willing to do the work.
Because that is the key, folks. I'll tell you this. I've learned it. Dre's telling you right here. This is a guy that is living a life that's proof of action. And that is what provides him with the success that he has had. He doesn't just talk about it. He goes and does it. And we talked about failure. Failure is going to come along the way. You're going to take the action. The failure is going to come. That's okay. Learn from it. Keep going. Don't give up. Like we said, you don't really lose until you quit.
That's right.
Have I missed anything that you would like to cover, like a question that I didn't ask that would be great for you to share with people, like some information?
I don't think so. I mean, we talked about a lot of things here. I mean, it's a whole lifetime to break down to an hour is impossible. So
we don't have enough time to dissect every part of you. Let me ask you this: your legacy. What would you like your legacy to be when the day comes that Dre Baldwin passes away? What lives on?
I want people to talk about work on your game the same way in personal and professional development. I want people to talk about work on your game same way that you mentioned, just do it, and everybody knows who it is and what it means and who it's for.
Just like that, it's instantaneous.
Right.
That brand is like, boom, it's in your head.
Right.
That's a great answer. Okay, so before we wrap this up, do you have like any special comments, some stuff you want to share with the people at home, links, anything? It's open to Mike for you to say whatever you want to.
Yeah, so for everybody out there, understand that everyone has a game. Whether you're selling insurance, you're a mortgage broker, you're a school teacher, you're an athlete, librarian, personal trainer, or you're just trying to figure it out. You don't even know what you are right now. We all have a game, and you need to figure out what game it is that you're in, because I find a lot of people think they're in one game, but they're actually in another. So you need to get clear on that. Then figure out how your game needs to be tailored to fit the game that you're in. Then you got to go out there, of course, work on your game. And then, as we talked about, perform, produce results, get rewards. And I do give people a free copy of one of my books. Can I share that, Jay?
Absolutely. Anything you want to share, please go ahead and do it.
Sure. So I'll give people a free copy of this book right here called Third Day, The Decision That Separates the Pros from the Amateurs. So this basically connects to a lot of what we talked about here in this conversation. Third Day is all about how you show up and give your best effort when you least feel like it. And we all have those days.
Yes.
You know, as a trainer, Jay, you have clients who they don't really feel like being at the gym, but they showed up. And
I'm one of those people.
Yeah, right.
I have plenty of days where I don't want to go to the gym, but I go anyways, and I just do it.
Exactly. So that day right there is where you create a little bit of separation between you and everybody else who didn't show up. Because everybody has days they don't feel like showing up. Difference is who does show up anyway, who doesn't. And that's what the third day is all about. And this book is not designed to be motivational. It's designed to be systematic and strategic on how you can do this on a consistent basis. Because when you're a pro at what you do, you have no choice but to show up, whether you feel like it or not. And that's what this book is all about. I'll give you a free copy of it. Just cover the shipping. We just go to thirddaybook.com. That's all spelled out. Thirddaybook.com. Book's free. Just cover the shipping. We'll send you a free copy.
That is freaking awesome. A free book that gives you the strategy. You can't beat that. Thank you for sharing that with everybody.
Well, thank you.
Oh, my pleasure, man. I mean, all I can say, Dre, is it's an absolute honor and a pleasure to have you on here and do an interview with you. And your story is fantastic. And I can't stump you. You got so many good answers. I just wish I had more time with you.
Well, we can always do it again. Just let me know.
Dude, I would love to. I would absolutely love to.
Yeah, let me know. We'll do a part 2.
Okay, excellent. All right, my man. Thank you so much again. I really appreciate it, Dre.
Thanks a lot, Jay. Let us know anything we can do for you. My assistant will send you a follow-up email. Let us know what you need, and we got it.
You rock, brother. Thank you so much. Have a good day, brother.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Open your eyes, don't accept the lies. Mass coming down, truth can be found. Propaganda fills your cup. Throw it out now and listen up. Keep it real, keep it real. Keep it real, keep it real.
Hey, thanks for joining in. If you're enjoying this podcast, please rate, review, comment, subscribe, and if so inclined, please support the podcast for as low as $1 a month, or you can leave me a tip. Look down below in the description.